Check, check. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome to Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020.
Rangkaian acara ini akan kami bawakan secara bilingual dengan saya, Fendi Irawan, akan membawakan acara ini dalam bahasa Indonesia.
And I, Keista Putih, will be presenting in English. Before begin, let's say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. May the rest of this webinar run smoothly.
Sebelum kita lanjut pada acara selanjutnya, rekan saya Keista akan menyampaikan beberapa peraturan selama kegiatan webinar berlangsung.
Technical Guidelines for International Webinar, Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020. Participants are not allowed to leave the Zoom meeting rooms during webinar. Ask for permission to the committee to leave the Zoom meeting if it's necessary. 2. Participants are obliged to mute their microphones. 3. At each break session 10 minutes, all the participants are prohibited to leave the meeting room. And 4. English is the only language that used in this webinar. 5. Participants are obliged to rename themselves on Zoom with the format participants_name. 6. Our moderator is reserved the rights to organize the whole webinar. Seven, the question and answer session will be available at the end of the speaker presentation. For the participants who want to ask, please kindly write it down on chat box, so the moderator can ask the question to the speakers. And last, at the end of the session, participants must fill the attendance in a Google form provided by the committee for the distribution of the certificate of attendance. And before we move to the next event, we will please do the audience to rise for singing Indonesia Raya and March ASEAN. all participants, welcome to sit back. The Honorable Dr. Roxum Pengsi, as a Judge Senior Research Fellow at the Energy Studies Institute, the Honorable Mr. Beni Suryadi, as a Manager of Power Fossil Fuel, Alternative Energy of Storage, ASEAN Center for Energy.
Pada yang terhormat, Dr. Haryanto selaku perwakilan dari Direktorat Jenderal Energi Baru Terbarukan dan Konservasi Energi, Kementerian Energi dan Sumber Daya Mineral Republik Indonesia, kepada yang terhormat Profesor Dr. Insinyur Ihsan Setiaputra selaku Wakil Rektor 1 Universitas Pertamina, kepada yang terhormat Dr. Teddy Wahyudi selaku Wakil Rektor 2 Universitas Pertamina, kepada yang terhormat Bapak M. Robi Hervindo Esos selaku Sekretaris Universitas Pertamina, kepada yang terhormat Profesor Dr. Insinyur Dermawan Wibisono MM selaku Dekan Fakultas Komunikasi dan Diplomasi Universitas Pertamina, kepada yang terhormat Dr. Farah Mulyasari MSc selaku Wakil Dekan Fakultas Komunikasi dan Diplomasi Universitas Pertamina. Yang terhormat Dr. Indra Kusumawardana SHUM M Hupin selaku Kepala Program Studi Hubungan Internasional Universitas Pertamina.
And all the guests who have come to the International Webinar Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020.
Marilah kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kepada kehadirat Allah SWT karena rahmat dan karunia-Nya kita dapat berkumpul pada acara Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina tahun 2020. Tak lupa juga salawat serta salam kepada junjungan Nabi kita Nabi besar Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam dan kepada para tabiat dan sahabatnya, serta tak lupa kepada kita selaku umatnya sampai akhir zaman.
Time flies at the chapter of our lives, twists and turns. It has led us to the 5th year of Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina. We have become bigger and brighter. Only information, total participants in the webinar is currently approximately 2,056 participants who come from several countries such as Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, China, and Taiwan. Next, allow me to deliver program on this occasion. Greeting speech from Secretary General of Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020. Greeting speech from Head of International Relations Study Program. Greeting speech from Representative of Ministerial of Energy and Mineral Research of Republic Indonesia. And greeting speech from Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Diplomacy Universitas Pertamina. Speaker Material Delivery and Discussion Panel Session 1, break. Speaker Material Delivery and Question and Answer Session 2. Speaker Material Delivery and Question and Answer Session 3, break. Speaker Material Delivery and Question and Answer Session 4. And last, closing. For the first speech, let us welcome Tajun Latansya as Secretary General of Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020.
Okay, greetings to everyone. The Honorable Professor Ihsan Setiaputra as Vice Chancellor 1, Dr. Teddy Wahyudi as Vice Chancellor 2, Mr. Robi Harvindo as University Secretary, Professor Darmawan Wibisono as Dean Faculty of Diplomacy and Communication of Pertamina University, Dr. Farah Mulyasari as Vice Dean Faculty of Diplomacy and Communication of Pertamina University, Dr. Indra Kusumawardana as Head of Study Program International Relations of Pertamina University, all these speakers who have attended, and all the honorable parties that I cannot name one by one. Previously, I would like to say welcome to the International Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020. I have received tremendous warm and great pleasure to decorate all of your attendance. Opening speech among the most respected say, my deep gratitude to all of you who have been part of making this event a success. This event will not have been possible without the support of each and everyone present here. For the international webinar reached more 400, there were several international participants included in this category, including from Malaysia, China, Nigeria, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Taiwan. In addition, the participants who registered for the meeting reached their of the meeting is 30. Before we start this webinar, I would like to express and this year if the fifth MAM of implementation, with this year the implementation is very different because we meet online. I think if everyone already know what is the reason we made this decision and ignore all of it. This year, Grand Team is about toward regional energy resilience. This topic must be wise because it is related to the energy that is always used support. Energy supply will be a threat to the user, countries, and this will become a global problem. And this will become a global problem. Therefore, we are looking for what to hearing from you to resolve the issue together. This event can open our minds about how to profit. We hope that this event will be a very memorable one for all of you because its benefit. This event is also expected to be one of the demonstration between delegates and expectors to be able to establish intimacy between a big thank you to all the committee involved in this event. And last, enjoy the event with pleasure. Thank you.
Terima kasih kepada Tajun Latansya atas sambutan yang telah diberikan.
Next, let us Dr. Indra Kusumawardana as Hum M. Hukin as Head of International Relations Study Program, Universitas Pertamina.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Allow me to give a warm welcome to the Honorable of Dr. Insinyur Haryanto, MT, as the representative of Directorate General of New Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation, Indonesian Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, and the Honorable of Mr. Robbie Herfindo, SOS, as our University Secretary, and then the Honorable of Professor Dr. Insinyur Darmawan Wibisono, M.Eng, or Dean of Faculty of Communication and Diplomacy, University of Pertamina, and also the Honorable of Dr. Teddy Wahyudi, the second Vice Rector, Universitas Pertamina, and the Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Iksan Setiaputra, the first Vice Rector, Universitas Pertamina. And our distinguished speakers, Mr. Beni Suryadi, Senior Researcher, Energy and Climate Change in ASEAN, Madam Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari, MA, Researcher at Indonesian Institute of Sciences, LIPI, and Dr. Roksun Pengsi, Adjunct Senior Research Fellow at the Energy Studies Institute, SC, based on University of Technology, Sydney, and Dr. Dendarlianto STMN, Head of Center for Energy Studies and National Research Council, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and then Han Po-min, Senior Energy Economist at the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area. And I want to greet all lecturers of Department of International Relations, Faculty of Communication, Diplomacy, and also Universitas Pertamina, and also all committees of Model of ASEAN Meeting 2020, Universitas Pertamina, and all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here at the international webinar of Model of ASEAN Meeting 2020 with the theme Towards Regional Energy Resilience. Firstly, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Universitas Pertamina, especially our thanks to Professor Akmaloka, PhD, Rector of Universitas Pertamina, and all Vice Rectors for their endless support and motivations to our department. Also, I would like to say thank you to our beloved Dean of Faculty of Communications, Professor Darmawan Wibisono, also our beloved Vice Dean, Dr. Farah Mulyasari, our Vice Dean, for their total support toward our event today, so we can make this event possible. Secondly, I would like to convey my sincere appreciations to our Student Affairs Advisor, Ms. Novita Putri Rudiani, MA, for her hard work and total dedications to oversee the preparations of this event. Also, I would like to convey my thanks and appreciations to the committee, MAM 2020, both steering committee and organizing committee, for their hard work and commitment to arrange this important event. And my thanks also goes to my colleagues at Department of International Relations, Universitas Pertamina, for their guidance and support for the preparations, Mr. Iqbal Ramadan, our Department Secretary, and all the lecturers that give their full attention through the task force of MAM to guide the committee to make this event possible. Thirdly, I would like to convey my deepest gratitude and respect to all partners of this event, Directorate General of New Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation, Indonesian Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Indonesian Institute of Sciences, LIPI, University of Technology, Sydney, Center for Energy Studies and National Research Council, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area, ASEAN Secretariat, ASEAN Foundations, all sponsors and partnerships, distinguished speakers, and all delegates and participants. As we all know, in today's interconnected world, ASEAN countries share the common challenge of energy security, which consists of meeting rising demand for energy in a secure, affordable, and sustainable manner. International Energy Agency predicted that developing economies in the Asia-Pacific region are expected to account for almost 2/3 of global energy demand growth between now and 2040. These economies will increasingly rely on energy imports, especially for oil and gas, to sustain economic growth. A significant share of this import must pass through two of the world's most strategic choke points for global energy trade, which are the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Malacca. Every country in the region faces the questions of how to mitigate the associated risks to security of energy supply. In this context, ASEAN as regional organizations is very important to face this common challenge, and energy security in ASEAN covers the key energy sectors of oil, natural gas, and electricity, and identify the main energy security issues, including a high level of vulnerability to natural disaster and heavy dependence on import of fossil fuels. This trajectory demands strong and flexible regional cooperations in order to build pathways toward improving the domestic and regional oil supply security, such as cross-border stockholding arrangement and joint stockpiling models. Departing from this backdrop, our department, through the 5th Model of ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina, is aiming to encourage ASEAN's younger generations for as early as possible discussing this issue through ASEAN's way, as early as possible. This year, we reached out ASEAN community once more by inviting delegates from other ASEAN countries. In that way, we are embracing and supporting the visions to build a solid ASEAN community that is characterized by harmony and cohesion, where our peoples can reside and thrive in prosperity. One of our university missions stated that we want to build an excellent higher education institutions with a global mindset and inclusiveness in the business and energy technological fields. In line with these missions, we saw our commitment to achieve a global mindset and inclusiveness by our proactive participations in shaping the future of Southeast Asia, especially through empowering the younger generations in ASEAN. Also, the term that we choose for MAM up 2020 towards energy resilience is a proof that we want to exercise our intellectual eagerness toward energy discourse, both academic and practical. To conclude, on behalf of our Department of International Relations, Universitas Pertamina, I would like to once again thanks to all stakeholders and participants in this event for supporting today's platform for a better future of ASEAN. We must always remember that the children of today will make the ASEAN of tomorrow. I wish you all productive and meaningful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak Dr. Indra Kusumawardana, SUMM Hupin, atas sambutan yang telah diberikan.
Next, let us welcome Dr. Haryanto as representative of Ministerial of Energy and Mineral Resource of the Republic Indonesia.
Honorable Professor Dr. Ahmad Loka, Rector of Universitas Pertamina, Professor Dr. Dermawan Wibisono as Dean of Faculty Communication and Diplomation, Universitas Pertamina, distinguished speakers, guests, participants, and organizing committee, lecturers, and also students in Universitas Pertamina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera. May we peace all with grace and peace. Good morning to all of you from Jakarta. It is a pleasure for me to speak in this excellent event. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation to Universitas Pertamina. My deepest appreciation is also expressed for all of the participants attending this webinars. Please allow me to convey my warmest welcome and gratitude. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak is not limited to health sectors, but it also severely affected our society, social and economic area. It contributed to the destabilization of the oil and gas market globally, which may further deepen the global financial crisis and hinder sustainable development. From Statistic Indonesia, or BPS, issued on 5 August 2020, Indonesian economy suffered its sharpest downturn, with the GDP contracting by 5.3% in the second quarter of 2020. The slow economic growth affect not only economic activities, but also energy demand. When energy demand slows down, it will also affect the renewable energy target achievement. The government issued economic stimulus and incentives to mute down the effects. The stimulus focused on the short-term fast response and green growth. It is a good opportunity for Indonesia to start implementing low carbon development scenario. Our challenge is to promote a cleaner fossil fuel utilization, energy efficiency, and renewable as critical tools to assure energy stability, security in long term. Indonesia is committed to collaborating globally to heal the world economy, issuing the pandemic impact and transitioning into a cleaner energy system. In accordance with the Paris Agreement ratification during the Conference of Parties or COP22 at Morocco last November 2016, Indonesia committed to reduce greenhouse gas emission for 29% unconditional by 2030 and 41% by conditional mitigation scenario. Holding the increase in the global average temperature below 2 degrees above the pre-industrial level, and to pursue effort to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level will be aligned with the target of Indonesia renewable energy share in energy mix for 23% by 2025. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, intensive partnership in bringing policies to action toward a cleaner, more efficient, and sustainable ASEAN energy community is fundamentally needed to meet the upward trend in energy demand, while also preventing irreversible damage to environment. Currently, Indonesia involving in developing the ASEAN Plan for Action for Energy Cooperation, or APEC, Phase 2, 2021-2025, with the theme Enhancing Energy Connectivity and Market Integration in ASEAN to achieve energy security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability to all, as an essential guiding document that reflect the commitment of ASEAN toward this goal. The APEC Phase 2 2021-2025 is the continuation of APEC Phase 1 2016-2020 and set out ambitious target and initiative to enhance energy security and sustainability. It also supports the Paris Agreement on Climate Change and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7. The key strategies of the 7 program area of the APEC Phase 2 2021-2025 are as follows. Once ASEAN Power Grid to expand regional multilateral electricity trading, strengthen grid resilience and modernization, and promote clean and renewable energy integration. Second, Trans-ASEAN gas pipeline to pursue the development of common gas market for ASEAN by enhancing gas and LNG connectivity and accessibility. Third is coal and clean coal technology to optimize the role of clean coal technology in facilitating the transition towards sustainability and lower emission development. 4 is energy efficiency and conservation to reduce energy intensity by 32% in 2025 based on 2005 level and encourage further energy efficiency and conservation effort, especially in transport and industry sectors. 6 is renewable energy to achieve aspirational target for increasing the component of renewable energy to 23% by 2025 in the ASEAN energy mix, including through increasing the share of renewable energy in state power capacity to 35% by 2025. Regional energy policy and planning to advance energy policy and planning to accelerate the regional energy transition and resilience. Civil nuclear energy to build human resource capabilities on nuclear science and technology for power generation. Energy transition to cleaner energy system is a process. Each country has a different transition path. Given the different situation and development priorities of each country, it is essential to consider each member country's national context and condition in the energy transition process. Biofuel must be recognized as an essential energy transition and play a significant role in the circular carbon economy. The broadest possibility choice of technology and energy fuel sources in the energy transition process without restriction. Affordability energy access, including the provision of modern energy for cooking purposes. Indonesia has the potential. We are developing it. We achieve such great achievement, but we assure you that energy transition challenge do need regional cooperation. I do hope that this forum will be beneficial to open up our mind in overcoming the challenges in energy transition. Thank you. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih kepada Dr. Haryanto atas sambutan yang telah diberikan.
Next, let us Professor Dr. Insinyur Darmawan Wibisono, M.Eng. as Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Diplomacy, Universitas Pertamina, to inaugurate the opening of Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for all participants of ASEAN Model Meeting that will be conducted from 10 until 13 November 2020. Welcome to our hospitality. Welcome to Universitas Pertamina. This is the 5th model of ASEAN meeting have been conducted by Universitas Pertamina so far. First time meeting conducted in 2016 with the name Model ASEAN Conference Universitas Pertamina or MAM, then changed into Model of ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina in 2017 up to now. The theme of MAM Uptown this year is towards regional energy resilience. Since 2016, participants of meeting come from students from the University of Indonesia and University from ASEAN. Countries like from Malaysia, Myanmar, Filipina, Sri Lanka, Brunei Darussalam, and China. The objective of such kind of meeting is to broaden views of relationship among nations in the ASEAN area for all students that hopefully becoming our nation leaders in the future. By practicing such kind of meeting, therefore they will have habits to discuss any problems among countries will be happening in the future in closer, friendly environment with academic manner. MAM Up in this occasion invites speakers from Indonesia and overseas who are first Honorable Dr. Insinyur Haryanto, Director General New Energy and Renewable Energy in Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Honorable Robi Hervindo, Secretary of Universitas Pertamina, Honorable Dr. Teddy Wahyudi, Vice Rector of Resource and Finance of Universitas Pertamina, Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Ihsan Setiaputra, Vice Rector of Academic and Students of Universitas Pertamina. Our distinguished speakers, Benny Suryadi, Senior Research Energy and Climate Change in ASEAN, Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari, researcher from LIPI, Dr. Roh Sun Peng Shi, Adjunct Senior Research Fellow at the Energy Studies Institute from University of Technology, Sydney. Din Darlianto, Head of UGM Center for Energy Studies and National Research Council, University Gadjah Mada, and Han Paumin, Senior Energy Economist at the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia. Final results of the model meeting are socialization of dynamic coordination in the ASEAN organization as the only one formal organization ASEAN area, build collaborative relationship among parties that are involved in the MAM up as an important fundamental in the political relationship in ASEAN and in the world area. Make internationalization of study program of international relations for diplomatic in ASEAN area. This meeting is open for students not only in the OP, but also from whom interest in negotiation and diplomacy with energy issues in ASEAN region. This meeting is published through YouTube channel and meeting will be conducted via online via Zoom meeting with experience and dynamic on meeting can be seen in the Instagram MAM University Pertamina. The participant of the seminar is around 440 people, includes from Malaysia, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Filipina, and China. And delegation of MAM consists of 36 people, include from Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Brunei Darussalam, and Filipina. From Indonesia itself come from Sumatra to Sulawesi. In the next future, the meeting will be conducted with involvement of broader participants from South Asia, East Asia, and Pacific countries, so MAM become area of students and the strategic partner to build network and diplomacy. On behalf of Rector of Universitas Pertamina, with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I open this meeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak Profesor Dr. Insinyur Dermawan Wibisono MM atas sambutan yang telah diberikan.
The next event is delivery material by Mr. Benny Suryadi and followed by discussion panel by Mr. Roh Sun Peng Shi, which will be guided with our moderator, Ms. Novita Rudiani. But before that, let me show us profile of our moderator. Ms. Novita Putri Rudiani, lecturer at Pertamina University International Relations Study Program and Education in International Relations Airlangga University, International Relations and International Organization, University of Groningen.
Untuk rangkaian kegiatan selanjutnya, akan kami serahkan kepada moderator kita, kepada Ibu Novita Rudiani. Kami persilahkan.
All right, thank you very much, Keista and Fendi, for this introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vita Rudi, the moderator of today's webinar. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this annual international webinar of Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020. So this webinar is conducted by Department of International Relations, Faculty of Communication and Diplomacy, Pertamina University. And today, this webinar will focus on the topic of towards Southeast Asia's regional energy resilience. Okay, before we start the session, I would like to greet all of the speakers. I would like to say good morning for Mr. Benny Suryadi from ASEAN Center for Energy, Dr. Shu Peng Shi from University of Technology Sydney, Dr. Dan Derlianto from University of Gadjah Mada Center for Energy Studies, Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari from Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia or Indonesia Institute of Science. And last but not least, good morning for Dr. Han Fo-min for Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time to meet us here. And I'm hoping that all of you are in a good condition and health. So we have our experts here to share insightful knowledge on this beautiful day. And our seminar will be divided into 4 sessions. The first session, we will have Mr. Benny Suryadi and Dr. Shubhaj C, who will discuss about energy resilience in ASEAN, especially in Indonesia. In the second and third session, we will have Dr. Dan Derlianto and Dr. Ganiwati Wuryandari, who will explain about potency of renewable energy and integration of energy at regional level. And the last session, we will have Dr. Min, who will share about the regional framework for energy security operation in Southeast Asia. All right, so to make this webinar more interactive, I invite you to give any questions related to our webinar topics. So all the participants can put the question in the chat box, and during the discussion session, I will pick at least 3 interesting questions for each session to be answered by our speakers. I also would like to inform you that at the end of the webinar, there will be a prize for at least 4 best questions and 2 best summaries from the participants. So please stay connected with us. Okay, so we can start our first session. Before the presentation for our speakers, I would like to introduce Mr. Benny Suryadi. Can Committee hear you? Thank you very much, Committee. Mr. Benny Suryadi is a manager of the newly established research department, power generation, fossil fuels, alternative energy, and energy storage of the ASEAN Center for Energy, an intergovernmental organization within the ASEAN structure that represents the 10 ASEAN member states' interests in the energy sector. He is in charge of supporting countries in their use of conventional energy sources and alternative energy so as to achieve the goal of energy security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability for all. In short, he is an energy professional with over 10 years of solid experience in managing research and program relating to energy, power, and climate change in ASEAN. So you can see his experiences displayed on the screen. In the first session, we also have our discussion, Dr. Shupang Rokshi. He is Principal Research Fellow at the Australia-China Relations Institute, University of Technology, Sydney, and he has specific interest on environmental and resource economics, energy and climate change, energy transition, energy market integration and connectivity, as well as policy on renewable energy, energy efficiency with regional focus of ASEAN and Northeast Asia. Also, you can see his experiences on the screen. Thank you very much, Committee, for displaying their curriculum vitae. All right, so for this session, I would like to invite Mr. Benny Suryadi to give his presentation. And Mr. Benny, you have your time for about 25 minutes. The committee will remind you for the remaining presentation time and also remind you for the next session. Okay, Mr. Benny Suryadi, you can operate your
Right. Very good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear my voice clearly. I would like to thank you very much to Ibu Novita as a moderator and your kind introduction with a brief description about myself. Before I start, allow me to convey my highest appreciation to Professor Ahmad Loka, Pak Iksan, and Pak Darmawan, and all of the team from University of Pertamina. It's a great honor for me to join in this important Model ASEAN meeting organized by University of Pertamina and representing the ASEAN Center for Energy. I was at the University of Pertamina, I thought it's about 2 years ago when we signed a memorandum of agreement on the research collaboration between the ASEAN Center for Energy and Universitas Pertamina. It's a very great pleasure to join again in this important event, and especially also a same session with my very best friend, Dr. Rob, Dr. Si Sumpeng Si, to share some insight, some information about the situation on the energy landscape in Southeast Asia, or commonly we call it ASEAN, and in particular in Indonesia. So I assume that everyone can see my screen already, the screen that I'm sharing it. So as Bu Navita mentioned, that I have around 25 minutes or so to share it. So I will try to present it on time, and then we can have a further discussion later. As a start as well, that I'm so maybe not everyone so familiar with who we are. I mean, that's going to be, I'm sure everybody knows about the ASEAN Secretariat, and then ASEAN is working on the many issues, be it political, social, culture, and every single thing, economy, and then energy is one of it. And our institution, the ASEAN Center for Energy, is working on the energy pillars under the ASEAN Economic Community. So as Bu Novita mentioned, we are representing the interests of the 10 countries in Southeast Asia region: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, including Laos, until Vietnam, if we go with alphabetical orders, on the energy issue. And as Pak Haryanto mentioned earlier, the regional work under what we call it a blueprint, or is like a regional planning. Maybe in some context, Indonesia is like national planning that we have. But together, these 10 countries aim to enhancing the energy connectivity and market integration in ASEAN to achieve several goals like energy security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability for all. Now, Pak Haryanto also mentioned there are different definitions about this. I will go on this later. But also to add the information that because we have various level of economic development in the countries, like, or also the resource that we have, Indonesia may be rich with coal or hydro, but some countries like Singapore have very limited resource. And then also Brunei, small countries, but huge resource on the natural gas. So country is very diverse, but that it's also translated into various issue or topic is being addressed in the energy cooperation in ASEAN. Pak Haryanto has already mentioned, it's starting like the ASEAN power grid, and talking about the electricity in region, and then Trans-ASEAN gas pipeline is talking about the oil and gas cooperation in ASEAN. Also sector on the coal and the clean coal technology, and batu bara in the Indonesian context, effort on the energy efficiency of conservation, or renewable energy, quite a famous one, a topic famous right now. Then we have a regional energy policy that look at the policy not only as a national concern, it's not only for Indonesia concern, it's not only for Malaysia or China or individual countries concern in the context of the ASEAN member state, but as a whole regional context. And last but not least is a civilian nuclear energy. Several countries in ASEAN is continually pursuing nuclear as one of the options for them to fulfill the energy demand. So as my institution is working on this, providing a research, a study, a data or recommendation for the policy makers, for the government of the 10 countries to look at this issue collectively. So we are not only for the Indonesian context, but also as a whole on the regional levels. And as we are talking about the energy mix in ASEAN, though I have two figures that on my life, or maybe in your race, the ASEAN energy mix. So it's basically the composition of the energy that we have today. The figures 2015 is not the updated one, but this is also still telling the same story that basically from all the energy that we supply today for the ASEAN I think is around 670 million people right now. To fulfill all the energy demand, most of it, or around 80% of it, is coming from the fossil fuels. It's coming from the natural gas, it's coming from oil, it's coming from coal. So this majority is coming from coal. 20 years ago, a majority is coming from the fossil fuels. Today is still around more than 80%. Indonesia is also a similar story, actually. That's where the majority of the energy is still coming from fossil fuels. I want to Harito as you mentioned that how Indonesia aims to have more renewable energy in the future in fulfilling their energy demand according to the national energy policy. This landscape can show you how the portion of energy, the composition of energy in fulfilling our demand. But then we're talking about the energy issue. The topic that we have today is energy resilience. When we're questioning, so what is the energy resilience? There are no fixed definition about the energy resilience itself. I mean, Indonesia might have a different opinion. What is the energy resilience? Cambodia might have a different opinion. Thailand might have a different opinion. According to the national status, national development, Pak Haryanto has already mentioned earlier that we have our own path to fulfill the energy resilience. But in general, in ASEAN context, it is defined into 4 issues that I mentioned before. It's talking about the energy security, talking about energy accessibility, it's talking about energy affordability, and then also talking about the sustainable energy. So there are 4 variables that somehow define the way the country is looking into the issue of energy resilience. But its factor is also have a different definition. I take, for example, that we're starting with the energy securities. It also have a various component in it, whether it's security of supply, whether we are securing the oil will coming from whether we also have an energy diversification, whether the composition, we have a good portion of coal, renewable energy is a good composition. And then whether it's talking about independent or self-sufficiency, or we need to import to fulfill the energy demand in our own countries, or about the secure the infrastructure that we have. This is talking about the outlets, maybe people in Java, Indonesia experienced last year that we experiencing the major blackout. So this is a major one, but there's also, to some context, how the disruption of our power system transformation to be fulfilled every day. So country by country has a different opinion on the way it's defined the energy securities. But one pertinent point is about security when we are talking about the supply. Here you can see that every country have a different reserve. Like for Indonesia, we have a lot of coal. I mean, many statistics saying that you can use coal for 40 years, 60 years ahead. Natural gas, we still have it. But Indonesia is already starting to import it. So I mean, we used to be a net exporter, but Indonesia is starting to import some context. And oil is maybe for generation 20 or 30 years ago, that Indonesia is a major oil exporter country. We once a member of the OPEC, the association for the countries of producing oils, but now we are importing the country. So imagine that if you have a car and then your car is from gasoline, that most of it is coming from the imports. And then when we don't have a security of the supply, then you don't have a gas for your cars to running the economics. So this is one of the concern on the energy security that we have. And then the next point is talking about the accessibility, how you can get that kind of energy. And then it's also talking, I mean, country by country also have a different point of view. For example, on household electricity access, somehow it's still a major issue that we have in Indonesia. The government has a success program on electrification, but still around, I think many of a million of people of Indonesia is living without access to electricity. But it's different with Singapore. Singapore, everybody is have their own electricity. Like in Thailand or Malaysia or Brunei, have a different situation where they have all the electricity already. But a friend from Cambodia or friend from Myanmar maybe also sharing the same situation, same concern that we have in Indonesia, talking about the household electricity access. And then access for cooking fuels. This is also defined that not everybody can get access to LPG. Not everybody can get an access for the electric stove. Many of us is still using the biomass, wood, to cook. Maybe not in the case of in the capital city like Jakarta or Bangkok, but in a rural area, still a huge issue that we have. So this is talking energy accessibility, and then I show you the maps that comparing that we you have the maps of ASEAN where several countries already have a high electricity access, like Brunei or Malaysia or Singapore. Maybe still less than 100 is people very, very remote area. But you also see a picture of the electrification ratio that we have in Indonesia. Majority in Java or Sumatra is very high, but to the east of the island, it's still issue that electrification ratio. And important to recognize as when we're talking about electricity, it's not only having a solar lamp system in your house, but the electricity can you use properly. One fact that I think it will be, as we know, having a laptop or having a mobile phone, one of the, not a good fact, one fact is the total electricity that your smartphone consume in 1 year actually more than what the electricity consumed of our colleague or our friends in the East Timor, in east of Indonesia. So this is how you see that it's not about only having a solar lamp, but having enough electricity for you to proceed with economic life. So imagine your smartphone. I don't know what kind of smartphone that you use that. The electricity that you consume is more than people who are consuming in the east or some remote area. And then it's affordability, and you're talking about the tariff, whether you are willing to pay how much your electricity bills. For some people, the electricity bill is maybe only a fraction of their income, but for many people, it's really challenging in paying for their electricity bills in daily life. And this is also one example. Every country have a different definition about this affordability. If you are Brunei Darussalam with high GDP, of course, you're not talking about pricing anymore. But it's different case where you are in Indonesia or Laos or Myanmar. And another one is about sustainability. When you're talking the environmental concern, when you're talking about how to have a sustainability, are you talking about having more renewable energy? When you're talking about the energy efficiency and conservation. And I will speak more about this point because it's become a critical issue when we're talking about resilient system of the energy today. It's talking about the energy and the climate nexus. The screen you may see, this is maybe a lecturer during your first year in the university or maybe during the high school. The energy, the ability to do the work, and the climate is how the atmosphere we have. of a relative long period. So it's not about whether today is raining or today is hot, but it's more on the relatively long period. And then we can generate it. What is the climate change? It's a commonly popular right now because this is a major concern that we have globally, and also Indonesia as well in other countries in the ASEAN region, because ASEAN is considered one of the most vulnerable region in the world that get the impact from the climate change directly. So having a resilient system on our energy is very, very crucial on that one. If you are so studying more about this climate change, there are concern to keep the temperature of the world is about 1.5 degrees. So this is the temperature that we are trying to keep. Maybe you think the 1.5 is not that different, but imagine when your common temperature of our body around 37, and when you are 38 or 38.5, you're already squeezing your bed, asking for the medicine. So this is what happened with the countries. And why it's become crucial at this point on the energy and climate issues for a resilient energy system is because when you see on your screen that majority of the global greenhouse gas emission that is generated every year is around 3/4 of it, or around 73% of it, is coming from the energy. So energy is the major factors that generating the GHG emission. MAG is a major sector that causes global warming, cause the issue on the climate change. In this energy coming from the energy used in industry, manufacturing, fabric, or chemical, petrochemical, or iron and steel industry, many things of that. It's also coming from the transport sectors, from the gasoline car that we still use every single days. What else? That's a road transport, or from the aviation, from the plane that you're traveling. Maybe because COVID right now that we don't travel much, so maybe the emission will be reduced a bit. But the transport is also the major contribution on the GHG emission. And of course, the energy used in the building, be it in the mall, be it in the building, the commercial building, or at our home, residential building when we use the electricity. Because as I mentioned earlier, most of our electricity is coming from the fossil fuel. So every time you turn on your electricity at home, every time you turn on your lamp, every time you turn on your air cooling, or charging your mobile, or turn on your TV, watching Netflix, that's going to be, please remember that electricity is still, majority is coming from the fossil fuels. So every time you use it, then we're still generating GHG emission. So that's a major issue that we have a climate concern on the ASEAN energy system that shape our energy resilience. But then I just go also sharing, we are talking about regional cooperation. It's not longer about the Indonesia or Singapore or Thailand individually, but it's talking about the all countries collectively collaborate together, or the current ones that you collab with other countries. So we have two major regional projects on the energy issue. The first one is the ASEAN Power Grid. Maybe some is already familiar with it, but the idea is to connect the electricity in all of the 10 countries. So, for example, that we have coal, we have hydropower plant in Sumatra, and then the hydropower plant can connect the electricity for the people in Java, or also can connect the electricity for the people in Malaysia, in Singapore, in other countries. Also from Laos, which is a huge hydro potential, they can generate the electricity in Laos, which is 1,000 miles apart from Jakarta, but then connect with the electricity infrastructure. And then when you turn on your lamp in your home in Jakarta, for example, your electricity perhaps someday could come from the Laos or come from Thailand. So this is the idea when we are collaborating between the ASEAN member state on the energy, on the electricities. You can see that how the list of project is already ongoing. And the next one is on the gas and pipeline. We also collaborating it, building a pipeline between the country, building regasification terminal between the countries. So the idea is if we do it together, we can have a better system. We can have a more resilient energy system instead of Indonesia do by themselves alone, or Thailand by themselves alone, or Singapore by themselves alone. And I moved to maybe this one more few last slide that I have is talking about the COVID impact that we have. Professor Damawan is also already mentioned. Pak Arianto is also mentioned earlier that everybody is experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic right now. It's impact every single sector of our life, including this student life, where no more physical class. I thought that's the ASEAN meeting for almost 1 year. We also don't have a physical meeting. Everything is a virtual meeting today. But on the energy issue, there are huge impact that we are experiencing in ASEAN and also Indonesia. The economic is slowdowns. Indonesia experiencing a crisis economic because the GDP is lowering, energy demand is growing. Several power project is being halted because there is no part supply chain is disrupted. Oil price is going down. Even at some point this year, oil price has become minus. So stockpiling has become challenging, and because everybody is getting a challenge for the economic development, and then paying the electricity become more difficult for the people. So it's impacting a lot of the system for us in keep our energy resilient in ASEAN and Indonesia. And I have this slide as we're talking about I'm sure many of you is all student in Indonesia from all the other countries. This is one of the finding the study that we have. I want to show that the circle that you have, you see is you can see that how many publication on renewable energy, on research and development being conducted in the ASEAN levels. So you can see that Indonesia, of course, big because we are huge population, but you can see also many countries also doing better. Indonesia, we have the Philippines, we have Singapore, we have Malaysia. So it's major concern that we have it. But maybe more message to a friend from Indonesian university or that less than, it's good. You see the Indonesia producing a lot of, there are around 442 research about R&D on renewable energy in Indonesia that we recorded last year, 442. So it's considered more, the most among all other countries, but only less than 20% is actually wrote by Indonesian researcher. It's being wrote by the other researcher, with the Singapore's researcher, the Thailand, or the global researcher. So we still lack on this effort. But it's very important because with the proper research, you can develop energy resilience as well. And as I assume many of you is also engineer, this is the idea that how you can tap into the future energy system for energy resilience. We are entering the electricity era. So we're talking about the electricity storage, or the battery, or the smart metering, electric vehicle cars, smart charging, hydrogen, Internet of Things for the energy, or renewable mining grid or super grid, and the flexibility. So this is the topic that you, if I may say, you should focus on developing your careers or the research in the futures. This is my last slide. This is not the new elected president, it's still the previous one. Barack Obama, but this is also a quote that I'm sure, personally I like most, that he's saying that I know there have been a question about whether we can afford such change in the thought economy, or disagree with affirming scientific evidence of climate change. But even if the door with evidence that providing incentive, working on the energy issue, energy resilience for the clean energy is the right thing to do for our futures. And because the country who will lead the clean energy economy will be the nation who will lead the global economy. So this is a vision that former President America is having. Hopefully it will be translated to the new president. But then university level, I'm very pleased that University Pertamina is taking this significant step on the ASEAN level. So I'm sure that if the Pertamina is also going to that direction, taking a lead on the clean energy study, then Pertamina will be also the university that leads the global economy. So that's end of my presentation. Happy to have a discussion. Thank you very much. I return back to the moderator, Ibu Navita. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benny Suryadi, for an insightful presentation. So from your explanation, I can conclude that first, ASEAN tried to manage the energy security at regional level through ASEAN Energy Center as part of ASEAN functional body. And there are at least 7 sectors of energy that are currently managed by the ASEAN 10, ranging for conventional to renewable energy sources. And the second is the region is working very hard to diversify the energy mix, increasing the energy accessibility for the people and also strengthening the energy security. The third point is that the region has put the issue of climate change as top priority because yes, we all of us feel that the effect of issue is real. And after all, the energy also energy sectors, also got impacts from the issue of global pandemic, due to the spread of COVID-19. And we can see clearly the impact on economic growth and also energy security in oil and gas, as well as in investment sector. Okay, so next I would like to invite Dr. Shunpeng Shi to ignite the discussion atmosphere for this first session. Please, Dr. Shunpeng Shi, to give your comments on this panel discussion. Dr. Shi, the screen is yours.
Hi, good morning. Selamat pagi. Can anyone hear me? So it's fine to hear me, right? Okay, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, thanks for the organizers to invite me to virtually meeting this participant, also reunited with my friends, Benny and probably Pumin later on. It's always my pleasure to discuss with people from Indonesia in particular. Since I have been living, I lived there for almost 4 years. It was a very interesting experience, and also I have another almost 4 years in Brunei and Singapore. So by those chance, I have a deep engagement. Also, ASEAN energy issues close to my heart. And I have met with Benny in many occasions and different platforms for so many times. I also thank Benny for the very nice presentation discussion about the resilience. I didn't prepare slides, but I would like to share my understanding of the resilience issue more generally in the literature as well in ASEAN and particularly in Indonesia. I think from Benny's presentation, I think 3 terms come out of my mind. The first is the trade-off, the second is care, and the third one is cooperation. I will explain one by one. The first is about the trade-off. Apparently that when we think about resilience or transition, as Benny mentioned that ASEAN country now consider climate change as the top of the policy or priority. However, if we address that issue, we have to be preparing to see that a decline of fossil fuel. That's one of the trade-offs we have to face. I think it's quite harder for policymakers. I trust most of the participants here are young students, so it's a good opportunity to think about the harder decision from your senior, who people understand or carry out policy. Because once we develop renewable energy, that means there's a retreat or decline of fossil fuel. That have a strong implication. This is particularly significant for a country like Indonesia, because you are the almost the largest or second largest coal exporter. Coal trading account for a significant amount of foreign trade revenue. And domestically, you have a large size of mining, including both formal large mining and very small coal mines, which employ a lot of people and also support the community. So you think that when you talking about transition or climate change, you have also think about this side, because once you pick up climate change, you probably more or less you have the dealing with the decline of this sector. Another trade-off is national with international dimensions. And Daniel mentioned ASEAN have a lot of initiative. However, when we're talking about energy resilience, one of the concerns is energy security. And I think one of the terms Benny highlights is the self-reliance. So that is different from international dimension, because if you want to self-sufficiency, then you probably put everything under your own jurisdictions. That will sometimes create a quite a difficult balance for policymakers. But hopefully the young students will grow up, actually you will take those into consideration when you make decisions in the future, have a more regional. I think the third one, when we're talking about trade-off, is between short-term and long-term. We all know that the climate change now is, we agree that have impact, but the impact of climate change comes slowly and in a long period. When we mention that when you develop climate change or mitigate climate change, you immediately face the challenge of fossil fuel decline. That will be short-term. Also, when we dealing with the climate change, we have to invest more for the futures. That means you sacrifice your current generation of revenues. How or how much the current generation are willing to sacrifice for the future sustainability is not just a trade-off for policymakers, actually for everyone of us. For example, you can go in for green food, green energy efficient products, or you take less public transport, more public transportation. I understand in Jakarta, there are a lot of private cars, and also actually most time the cars, probably half of them are empty. So those are very, very unique situations there. So whether you sacrifice your current life living quality for the future of sustainability. Those I would think about the trade-off come out of my mind. And the second I would say is care. As Benny highlights that in ASEAN, the 10 countries have very different energy situation. While Brunei, Singapore have a universal access to electricity, in other countries like Cambodia, Myanmar, are still, or even Laos, are still face, many people there are face lack of access to electricity. They don't have grid electricity to supply. So for them, the priority will be quite different. So when we think about that, what we are going to do, we also think about our fellow ASEAN citizens who might face quite a different situation and need to be care of them. I think second care concern I want to highlight is that those related to the fossil fuel sector. In the previous trade-off, I mentioned that fossil fuel sector will face decline in economic status. That not just a share of energy, it's about the local economy. Say a village and even local government or regions are dependent on coal industry. They will face significant challenge. And more importantly, there will be actually millions of households and people who depend on them. For them, they not necessarily have the skill to adapt to the new opportunities. Even they have the skill, they not necessarily have the opportunity in the new energy sector, because geographical distribution might be different. So I think the second care, we have to think about them. I think you third care, I would say that it's a popular issue now, so-called just energy transition. Means that when we look at energy transition, we don't just look at the positive side, the green side, we also look at the black side or brown side, who could be the residents, individuals, local government, or even industry, because that the industry invests huge amount of money in that sector. We definitely love good things, but we also actually want to take care of those who are most disadvantaged and affected. Those things, I think, when students or young generation will look at the bright side, we also look at the other side of the coins, which will probably help you to come out a practical solution or balanced views in the future. I think the third term or last term I want to highlight is the corporations. Climate change sometimes is a very tricky thing, because the impact will be applied to all us, regardless of who caused it. So in the economics, we call the common pool or the public goods. That creates an issue we call the free rider for economics. Means that if Benny work hard to reduce emissions, I benefit if I didn't do anything. So in that sense, they will probably create some kind of individual perspective, saying, okay, why not let my fellow citizens to do the work, I enjoy the benefit. That's a typical also dilemma for the climate change, also for the international cooperation. At ASEAN level, Benny also mentioned ASEAN Power Grid and the Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline or Partnership, TAGP, they changed the term. That also highlights the importance of cooperation, because only with this kind of regional collectivity is possible to develop like hydro project in Laos and supply to Singapore, LTMS, which is kind of projects are on. I think ASEAN has been promoted cooperation from the early beginning, even from 1967. I think before ASEAN was conceptualized, the first thing we're talking was energy cooperation. There have been quite significant progress, but there are still wise potential for further collaboration and cooperations. I believe the current APAC probably will think about more radical measures given the need for climate change, and how to utilize ASEAN's common resources to address global challenge. So I think for the cooperation, the key is that when we look at cooperation, we have to think beyond national boundary and work at a regional level at least to see the cost benefit, and with the care of those nations have challenges or those groups are like behind. At the end, I think not just policymaker, for every individual us, we all have to have think about that whether we prepare to trade off and how much we prepare to trade off and what contribution we can do for the more sustainable or resilient ASEAN. I think that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tershi, for insightful comments. Okay, so I think I would like to deliver one question that may be missed from our discussion today. So there is one question from the audience from Mr. Anggito Abimanyu. He asked about how can ASEAN facilitate the human capital and maximize the potencies of the people from different fields regarding energy issue, ranging from maybe social science to engineering science. So maybe I would like to ask Mr. Benny to answer first.
Right. Thank you, thank you for the question, Pak Anggito Abimanyu. If I understand it correctly, I mean, addressing the human capitals, which is, I think this is a major challenge that we have, not in energy sectors only, but in many areas. Recently that we are conducting a survey to, I think it's around 50 university in the Southeast Asia, asking whether they have a curriculum or they have a lecture, they have a course on the energy transition on renewable energy or not. This is around 40 or 50 top university in region. And it's only around 20% of it actually have the curriculum, and then let's say actually 10% that's really preparing a human capital while working on this energy transition issue. So this is one of the challenges that we have in region compared to the like Europe or other region that have investing a lot on this issue. But then if we are talking about the ASEAN level, that's the goal of the ASEAN is, I think when people is talking about the ASEAN economic community, and then we are talking about the free flow of investment, free flow of the skilled laborers. This is in the energy context, it happened to the some portion, like for example, on the energy efficiency that currently we have a certification for the manager of the energy efficiency. So once you apply that certification in Indonesia, then you are also eligible to use it in Thailand, in Malaysia, in other countries, because it's become a standard of certification already. So it's allowing human resource location or distribution among the countries. But also the challenge that we have as Dr. Rock has also mentioned, there is a trade-off that needs to be addressed. The countries have a different level of economic development. So that's going to be also that how every countries can also absorb this to the level that's acceptable to these countries. So I think this is critical issue that we have in ASEAN levels. We are, I mean, especially on my energy sectors, because I'm only working on the energy issue. That this is we are doing well on the building the human skill on the energy efficiency, but beyond that, I think it's still a challenge that we are facing it. That's my response, Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benny and Dr. Shi. In responding to Mr. Anggito's questions. Yeah, so maybe I need to repeat the question. So Mr. Anggito Abimanyu asked about how can ASEAN facilitate the human capital and maximize the potentials of the people from different fields regarding energy issues, from maybe social science to engineering science. Please, Dr. Shi, you can ask the question.
Nomiti, are you waiting for my comment?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, I think in addition to Benny's comments, I think one issue I want to highlight is open or cooperative. When we think about the technology, is not necessary to be developed within ASEAN. So it could be developed anybody, anywhere in the world. For ASEAN, it's very importantly to have an open mind to technology development in other places. And second, I think I will highlight what Benny just mentioned is cooperative, like the certificate of engineering. Those are very important because big countries like Indonesia have probably most of the engineering engineers, but some other country may less likely to have sufficient engineer to address all the challenges they have. So in that sense, that the cooperation is very important. But there is also another role for government to facilitate is provide target intervention. In certain areas, there might not be the market can solve all the issue. So the government should step in and provide target intervention. But means this kind of target intervention is not only into your country, it's also better to be coordinated at the regional level. When the government work together and to identify the weak point or the point or the areas where the most interventions. By doing that, I believe that ASEAN collectively can be better off, and the deployment of technology could be maximized given the current resource constraint in each individual country. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Anggito Abimanyu, hope that the Mr. Benny and Dr. Shi answered your question. So, I would like to conclude that actually, in increasing the energy resilience, we need to work together, not only for the government of ASEAN 10, but also we need to include and involve the society as a whole, from different level, from academics to practice, and from older to younger generation. So all of the people needs to work together and collaborate to strengthen the energy resilience at the regional level. Okay, so before I end my session here, I would like to invite again Mr. Benny to give a closing statement for your presentation, and continued by Dr. Shi to give a closing statement.
Thank you, Ibu Navita. I think I have 2 points. One is also because I'm working for the ASEAN, so it's a very important for us to look the world as the ASEAN, not only is Indonesian or only Singapore. Because it's provide many opportunities for us to build a better world. And in this context of the energy resilience, that if Indonesia can collaborate with Thailand, Singapore, and all the other countries, we will much doing better in addressing the concern that we have on energy resilience, the energy climate change that we have. So be proud of become the ASEAN citizen. And the second is maybe is more on Indonesia. That Indonesia is a major part of the ASEAN. I mean, the energy side only, we are around 40%, or around almost 40% of the energy profile in ASEAN is Indonesia. So we need the Indonesian to play more active role on the energy landscape in region through diplomatic or through engineers to do much better than we have today. So I hope it could be a pathway for better for the Indonesian student as well. And thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benny and Dr. Shi.
Yeah, I think I have only one message that for particularly young participant, university student here, we have to think about both 2 dimensions. One is on the long terms, we need to think about climate change, and in the future, when you become responsible citizens, you can influence others, what you are going to do. But for the short term and immediately, as individuals, you also probably suggest to think about what you can do now to change the past or to contribute to a resilient energy system and society. Do whatever things you can do, start from scratch, from small, but hopefully will make it bigger in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again for Mr. Benny Suryadi and Dr. Shunfeng Shi for giving us such interesting discussion. Unfortunately, we have a limited time, so I'm hoping that you might be pleased if we invite you for another fruitful discussion in the near future. And I have to end the first session here. Okay, so I think we need a little break before we begin our second and third discussion with Dr. Dendarlianto and Dr. Ganewatu Koryandari. And I would like to give the screen to Fendi and Keista for giving us further instruction. Please, Fendi and Keista.
Thanks to all speakers and moderator. To all webinar participants, we will give a 10-minute water break. And all participants are encouraged not to leave the meeting rooms, and we are going back at 11:55 p.m.
Especially right now, is fun while studying in international relations at Universitas Pertamina because of several things. Like first, the lecturer here are very concerned about the development of studies within the students, and also there are tutor classes that provide us a better understanding about the listen all the subjects.
Selama menempuh pendidikan di HI Universitas Pertamina, saya merasakan suasana yang kondusif, baik di tingkat horizontal maupun vertikal, di mana horizontalnya kita bisa bercengkrama dengan teman-teman dengan sangat baik, dan di tingkat vertikalnya dosen-dosen pun terbuka dalam mengakomodir kepentingan mahasiswa.
I've learned about security studies and also European studies as one of my favorite subjects here, that give us a better understanding about state custom and behavior that shape the interaction among the international relation actors.
Selain itu, kami para mahasiswa dan dosen hubungan internasional sedang melakukan penelitian terkait ekspor kelapa sawit ke Uni Eropa, di mana penelitian ini akan dijadikan rancangan rekomendasi kebijakan untuk Kementerian Luar Negeri dalam memetakan diplomasi ekonomi Indonesia di bidang ekspor kelapa sawit.
We've already done many field trips such as to British, France, Russian, and United States Embassy, and there is an ongoing event conducted by international relations student. The name is MAM, where this event focused on a very interesting decision-making simulation of ASEAN, where the participants are high school students.
Program Studi Hubungan Internasional Universitas Pertamina memiliki visi untuk menjadi program studi yang berdedikasi dalam pengembangan studi HI yang berwawasan energi dan daya saing global. Untuk mencapai visi tersebut, kami ditopang oleh 3 misi utama. Yang pertama adalah misi terkait dengan pengajaran, di mana para dosen berkonsisten untuk memberikan pengajaran yang berbasis student outcome dan tentunya memberikan sebuah pengalaman baru dalam pembelajaran bagi mahasiswa. Yang kedua adalah kami juga memiliki misi untuk terus mengembangkan penelitian yang terintegrasi, dan tentunya penelitian tersebut memiliki dampak tidak hanya di tingkat lokal, nasional, tapi juga memiliki dampak di tingkat global. Dan terakhir, misi kami pun memiliki misi pengabdian masyarakat, yang pada intinya misi pengabdian masyarakat ini memiliki tujuan untuk memberikan solusi terbaik bagi permasalahan yang ada di masyarakat kita sekarang. Program Studi Hubungan Internasional Universitas Pertamina memiliki kelebihan yang tidak dimiliki oleh perguruan tinggi lainnya. Program studi hubungan internasional Universitas Pertamina adalah program HI pertama di Indonesia yang berbasis energi, di mana saat ini energi adalah bagian dari keamanan dan ketahanan bangsa yang pada akhirnya mendorong perilaku negara untuk berinteraksi satu sama lain dalam konstelasi politik ini. Proyeksi lulusan mahasiswa program studi hubungan internasional Universitas Pertamina ini dapat berkarir di Kementerian Luar Negeri sebagai diplomat, tentunya karena memiliki basis energi dan berbasis BUMN. Lulusan program studi HI ini dapat menjadi government relations specialist di beberapa multinational company. Tentunya mereka pun dapat meniti karir sebagai akademisi, sebagai peneliti, dan juga sebagai wartawan di berbagai media nasional maupun media internasional. Pesan-pesan saya untuk para mahasiswa program studi hubungan internasional Universitas Pertamina dan para calon mahasiswa, saya ingin memberikan 3 tips yang menjadi sokong guru dalam studi HI ini. Pertama, kalian jangan pernah melupakan untuk membaca. 2, menulis, karena menulis akan mengasah critical thinking dan kemampuan kognitif kalian. Dan ketiga, jangan pernah malu untuk diskusi, karena 3 hal itu adalah bagian terpenting bagaimana kalian bisa sukses di prodi ini. Nah, tentunya 3 hal ini harus ditopang oleh semangat dan doa, di mana semangat dan doa ini akan mendorong kalian untuk menjadi apapun yang kalian mau.
Jadi harus menjaga semangat, kompak, dan sering berdiskusi agar seni diplomasi dan negosiasi kita semakin terbentuk.
Stay united, keep your spirit on achieving your goals, and of course welcoming your bright future. Be global leaders.
Be global leader.
medicine, enough milk for their children.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to all participants who are participating in this series of the event. Now we have entered session 2 and 3 of International Webinar Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020, which will deliver by Mr. Dan Darlianto and Ms. Ganewati. To start the discussion session 2 and 3, will be guided by our moderator, Ms. Novita Rudiani.
Kepada moderator kita, Ibu Novita Rudiani, waktu dan tempat kami persilahkan.
Okay, thank you, Fendi and Keista. We're back again for the second and third session. So here we have already Dr. Dan Darlianto as our second session speaker, and followed by the third session, Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari. Okay, so the second session, Dr. Dan Darlianto will be our speaker for the topic of the role of renewable energy on the national, regional, economic, and energy security post-COVID-19 is related to our condition today. So as Dr. Dan Darlianto prepared his presentation, I would like to read the CV of our second speaker. Can the committee please help to present? Okay. Thank you. So Dr. Dan Darlianto is the director of Center for Energy Studies, Universitas Gadjah Mada from 2013 until present. He is also the member of National Research Council, Republic of Indonesia from 2016. He has published many research publications, Index Pass Scopus, and Thomson Reuters with H Index 16. He finished his doctoral degree in mechanical engineering from University of Tokushima, Japan in 2006 and continued his postdoctoral fellow at Helmholtz Zentrum Dresden, Rosendorf, Germany in 2011. As the experience, he has achieved so many scientific awards, such as the second champion of National Lecturer Competition in 2016 and Georg Foster Research Fellowship Awards from Alexander von Humboldt Stiftung, Germany in 2008, as you can see on the screen. I would like to remind Dr. Dan Darlianto to deliver your presentation for about 25 minutes, and the committee will help you for the remaining time. And for the audience, please give your question through the chat box because the discussion session, I will take at least 3 interesting questions to be answered by Dr. Dan Darlianto. All right, so without wasting our time, Dr. Dan Darlianto, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much thank you very much, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for the time for me to present our study about the role of renewable energy in Indonesia, also in ASEAN. To have a good time, so please allow me to present and to share the material for my presentations. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, perfectly.
The title of the title of my presentation is the Role of Renewable Energy on the National or Regional Economic and Energy Security post COVID-19. This is my short preview on my personal background. Please allow me to see about the overview of ASEAN energy situations. Basically, if we see ASEAN from Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, Laos, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei Darussalam. In general, such Indonesian, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Brunei, we have quite a lot energy reserve from fossil fuel energy. Meanwhile, due to the strong competition and unpredictable the price of energy of fossil fuel, Indonesian and ASEAN countries should move from the fossil energy to the renewable energy. Let me see about the short overview for each country, such as Myanmar. Myanmar has a low level of energy access and high reliance on biomass. It's quite good for renewable energy and hydropower. But basically, from year to year, Myanmar should increase the domestic gas production. Next is Thailand. You have a very good second largest energy consumer. For example, oil and gas producer, but increase depending on import. This is a problem. Cambodia has a problem for the energy access and energy per capita for the demands, but Cambodia has a potential for oil and gas production. On the other hand, Singapore, as we know, Singapore is a key player for global refining and petrochemical hub for the ASEAN country and even for all of the world. Indonesia has the largest energy consumer now. We have a rising domestic need. For example, for oil and gas, we should import about 60% of Indonesian oil and gas now. For oil, but we have quite a lot of reserve of gas. And on the other hand, we have a problem. Even we need a lot of gas consumption, but we still can import LNG for some country in the world. Laos, you have a significant hydropower potential, yeah, and Vietnam also, they have a growing energy demand, and then the problem, they should increase. They have the problem with the increasing of import despite of domestic production of fossil fuel, and they have a new progress for the starting or for the introduction of nuclear power. On the other hand, Philippines, you have depending on oil import, and then they have a good news. Philippines is the second largest geothermal power producer. Next, Malaysia. Malaysia is the third largest energy consumer, and then world second largest LNG export in 2014, and then but not a net producer. Last but not least, Brunei Darussalam. Brunei has significantly producer and exporter of oil and gas is still dominant for the fuel of electricity. In the case of Indonesians, since 2014, government has released government decree number 79 that we call as national energy policy. In national energy policy, we should have a renewable energy portion in Indonesian energy mix in 2025 around 23%. But the condition, the presently condition is only 11%. This is a big problem and big challenge for Indonesian government to achieve the renewable target in 2025. We conducted a small work about the SWOT analysis about the Indonesian energy condition and regional energy condition. For example,